everyone. Today I'm going to do a project using some of the materials from the Crescent Moon Mystery Box. I am going to use both of the colors of the, let's see if I can get into the focus, of the heat transfer vinyl that changes color. It starts out white and then it turns, in this case, yellow and purple. And I came up with a really cute design that I thought I'd try. We're going to use the Easy Press 3. And I'm going to use the Cricut Heat app. And I've told it what vinyl I'm using, and I've told it that this is a cotton poly blend. And then it gives me my instructions and tells me how to do everything. So the press is already preheated. I'm going to set our shirt aside for a minute. I like to leave my vinyl on my cutting mat when I go to weed it because it makes it a little bit easier so it's not curling up on me. And on this particular vinyl, because it all looks the same no matter which color you get, what I do is after I've trimmed up my piece, let's see which corner I put it on, I use a dry erase marker on the shiny side and I just write what color it is in the corner so that I'll remember later which color is which. That's a really handy tip when you get a bunch of these going and can't remember what color is what. I think this is going to be such a cute little design. I will leave a link for my project down in the description. And of course you can obviously get all these supplies from Cricut even if you missed out on the mystery box. Now what I did is I used two different colors here, but it's all one basic image that I'm trying to put together. So I attached everything by color so that we'll keep it and line it and make it easier for me to be able to get all of my pieces lined up. Look at how nicely this weeds. I cut this out on my Joy Extra and I used the custom setting that exactly matched the color change UV iron-on, and it cut out beautifully. And you can see I'm not being gentle with this. I'm just grabbing it and pulling and it's doing great. Don't want to forget to weed my centers. And one more. Okay, I think that's everything. Make sure you always put your cover back on your mat right away so you can keep them clean and sticky as long as possible. Okay, now this is a little girl shirt, so it's not very big. Now what I like to do, since you have to pre-press the shirt anyway, I like to fold it in half and use my pre-press as a means of getting a line so that I can find my center. First I want to lint roll it to get any lint off, because if there's lint on here, your iron-on will not stick. Or, you know, you'll stick a dog hair to your shirt. Okay, now I'm going to take my shirt, and I would suggest never try to go by the tag that's in the back, because they are quite often not in the middle. I like to grab it up here by the shoulders and make sure my shoulders meet up. And then I kind of go down to the bottom and I just make sure the bottom meets up. And then shake it a little bit just to make sure it's straight. Make sure the little armpits are still lined up. See if I can get this crease out of the inside. Okay, now I'm just going to press it for about 5 seconds or so, just so that it gets any moisture out of the shirt. And it'll also give me a really nice line to use as my center. See, now we've got a great line for the center. Okay, now what I like to do is I take my design and I figure out where half is, and I'll pinch it at the top and at the bottom so that I have a little bit to go by. And then I'm going to go do the same thing with this piece. And I'm just going to do this so that I can kind of make sure I like where it's going to end up. Now this is a little girl's shirt, so I tend to only go maybe 2 fingers from the neck, maybe a little less, or it'll end up too low on the shirt and they'll end up with a cool design on their belly. Okay, that looks pretty centered. I'm going to use Cricut's Teflon sheets. This design isn't very big. I cut these down into several sizes. You get 3 big sheets in a box. And I will cut them up into different sizes to make them easier to use, and so that I'm using one that's about the right size instead of a giant piece where I can't see. Okay, now because we're doing 2 layers, we don't want to go the full time on this first layer. You do want to make sure that you don't get any seams under your press. And we're going to go maybe 6 or 7 seconds. And you don't need a lot of pressure here. Just lean on it. You don't need to stand on it. I just put both my hands on it and lean forward a little bit. That was a little longer than I meant. That was about 10 seconds. When you're doing more than 1 layer, iron-on tends to shrink a little bit. So if you have pieces that go inside of pieces, like if we had little centers for these flowers or something, if I press this first layer too long, it's going to shrink. And then when I go to put my next layer on, my little centers aren't going to line up anymore. And you want to let this completely cool before you peel it. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now in this I'm going to go slow because I only gave it about 10 seconds, so I want to make sure that it really stuck, so I don't want to just rip this carrier off. Okay, now we want to do our second layer. And I've still got my center mark, which is helping me line this up. I could have done some little registration marks up in the corners or something to line it up, but it looks like that lined up really nice. Get my marker off so I don't get a mark on my press. Okay, now this time, because this is our last layer, we're going to let it go its full time. So we're going to get it off the seam and just lean. And it may look like I'm sitting on top of this seam over here, but I'm not. I'm just clear of it. Another tip is to always have your little mini press handy. That way if something happens and you get a little tiny piece that doesn't stick or something like that, you can use your mini press to press just what didn't stick instead of repressing the whole thing. I'm going to move this board because the board is hot. that just a second to cool. Okay, this should be good now. Feels like it's stuck really well. Now I want to show you the cool thing it does once it gets exposed to UV light. Now I might have to turn my bright lights off to make this work, but we'll see. Now this will obviously stay brightly colored if you're actually outside. But because I'm using a UV flashlight, it fades pretty quick. But look at that. Isn't that neat? I just love this product. So there you go. Easy peasy. You got a great little shirt. Hope you all enjoy. Happy crafting.